Hi, welcome back. It's Tori. Shortly after I uploaded my Can You Beat Dark Souls 2 with spell tools only, it hit the algorithm, and before I knew it, I was at 50 subs, then 100, then 150, and then, well, now 200, and by the time of recording this, 250. So this video serves as my 50, 100, 150, 200, and 250 sub special, so thank you so much. But what is this challenge run? Well, the Chaos Blade takes away 20 HP per successful attack, so with that in mind, I thought, how would this run be at minimum stats? And a small portion of the run where I cursed myself thinking this run would be easy, but I was very wrong. But that's for later. Right now, my friend Solar Pellets has uploaded her version of the run, so go watch that one too. After naming my character, I needed to choose an appropriate class, and after a bit of thinking, I landed on the Wanderer, as they had a good bit of vitality and they were also pretty close to the stat requirements. After getting into the Asylum and learning I didn't fix my control bindings from the flip-only run, I fixed them quickly and cheated in the Chaos Blade. I can't level up until after the Asylum, so I'll be doing this without the proper stats, but it's the Asylum, so it's no big deal. Since I have a weapon, I can go ahead and fight the Asylum Demon right off the bat. Without proper stats, the weapon bounces off his pudge, and if we were to miss, we'd have a long recovery window. First attempt was a bust because of a Dark Souls 2 hitbox, but the second try, the Asylum Demon goes down. Other than this, the Asylum Demon doesn't have much else except just get the Estus and the key from Oscar and leave for Firelink. Along with cheating the Bladed, I also gave myself more than enough souls to level up and meet the stat requirements. Even at min stats, this will cut through most of the early game like butter, so I easily clear my way through the Burg and arrive at the Taurus Demon. Mid-game boss weapon plus first boss goes about how you'd think. Another thing about the Chaos Blade is it does bleed, and you can see here that the bleed procs, but it doesn't show the amount of damage done, so little fun fact I suppose. Across the Drake Bridge and missing the shortcut ladder, I enter the parish and go to Andre's Fire. I wanted to get a taste of the enemy that would soon become the bane of my existence. On top of the health drain via sword, his jank-ass hitboxes constantly either hit me or get me killed. Speaking of which, I got caught on the end of his staff, died, and had to go all the way back to the parish because of Dark Souls 1 not having auto rest. A few attempts later, I learned it's best to stay tucked in between his leg and his tail, and just dodge in case the tail's hitbox hits you. The damage is also really low, so for a bit of a boost, I use my soft humanities to increase my hard humanity counter, as chaos weapons scale in damage up to 10 hard humanities. With these, he goes down and I pick up my first demon Titanite. With +1, I took on the gargoyles. The damage was phenomenal, and I took out the first one before the second one came down, and he went just as quick. The first bell rung, and I was thinking, man, this run isn't going to be that hard, so let's cheat myself into the depths and get cursed for a bit of an extra challenge. Along with this, I also wanted to kindle my bonfires as little as possible, and only Havel tank as a last resort. For once, I didn't kick Lautrec and wanted to fight him normally, but he knew the routine and did the deed for me. With the Master Key, I took the shortcut down into Blighttown, and to be safe, I got the bonfire because I was worried with the poison on top of the 20 health per attack, I lose too much health, but it turned out not to be a huge issue. 10 Estus from coming down after visiting Firelink was more than enough to offset these effects. Quelaag was pretty simple. I simply stick right behind her spider's head, and whenever I see the spider's legs move or her hug the spider, I exit from the back to avoid the AoE. Afterwards, I go see Ceaseless and steal his sister clothes for some light defense, and then get him to fall to his death. Before leaving Blighttown, I went backward to try and find Power Within. On Today I Learned, the Chaos Blade will still take health away even if the enemy is dead. Tune in next week to see what Oscar does to me in the Asylum. I made a quick detour before heading to Sens. I wanted to go in with the +2 weapon. For the most demon Titanite, you have to kill the respective demon, but there are 3 that can be picked up without having to fight one of the demons, but only 2 can be gotten before Orando. These other 2 are obtained by trading a dung pie and a prism stone with Snuggly. We get both of these from the female undead merchant, so we head down to the lower Burg and slowly clear everyone out and make it to the merchant buying a dung pie, prism stone, and a purging stone. Back at Firelink, I pick up the key on top of the chapel and go back to the Asylum and trade both the dung pie and prism stone, getting the next 2 demon Titanite. Going back to the bonfire room, we can take a shortcut upstairs and kill Oscar. On Today I learned that Oscar is a cheating bastard who should be put down like the dog he is. Much better. Stray is simple with a weapon that does bleed, just get behind him and do 3 hits and repeat. Heading back to the parish, we can upgrade it to a +2 and go straight into Sens, and at the bridge we can jump down and plunge into the demon below. Another quirk of the Chaos Blade is when you plunge, you can hit a total of 3 times. A couple of deaths later, and I get the first Demon Titanite from the demons, which is enough to get to a +3. The Titanite demons are so tough I don't bother with the other 3 for now, and continue up and around Sins. Iron Golem isn't hard, just takes a while with its high resistances and the low damage. Speaking of which, my damage isn't increasing by much. Upgrades only raise the AR by so much, and without leveling Dex, our damage is pretty much stuck without a little extra help from the Humanity, Chaos Scaling, or basic damage boosting items like RTSR and Power Within. On my 3rd attempt, I get the Iron Golem to fall and then make my way up to Orando. Going down the elevator, we can turn the corner to find a Demon Titanite in a chest. The rafters were extra dangerous with the low health, even a throwing knife would kill me. An attempt later, I make it through the rafters and cross the bridge. The demons and archers didn't give me a hard time, and from there I was inside the main building. Before ONS, I wanted to kill the other Titanite demon in the small room, and man, fuck this demon! Not only is the room tiny, but I get one shot, and with this jank, it happens so frequently. Then comes another problem, is my damage is just so low. I think it's a good time to mention this. I do have other options for increasing my damage, like RTSR, Power Within, and having my Hard Humanity at 10. However, RTSR is almost useless because I can't stay at low health for very long, making it not viable. Power Within is pretty good, but it slowly drains your health, so you'll have to be cautious of where your health is at. Lastly, 10 Humanity is pretty good damage boost, but with my low health, only a few mistakes and then it's gone, and you'll have to go far more. But getting back to the demon fight, I kept dying and dying and dying to the point I just got so frustrated at him. Even in the little spot I stick myself in, his tail will go a little too close to me and kill me. After about 15-20 minutes of painful attempts, I wanted to go take on ONS, and man, this did not help. Each fight basically turned into no-hit fights, and I am not good enough at this game to do that. One attempt, I managed to get Ornstein down to half, but I had already had enough, and decided to use the Purging Stone, so only 2 bosses later, I failed my extra set of rules. I really want to keep myself cursed, but when it comes to challenge and fun, and my own sanity, I'll choose fun 99% of the time. Along with uncursing myself, I also used 6 of my soft humanity for a damage boost. For Ornstein, it's 3 hits for a stagger and then 10 for a bleed. I try and keep Ornstein just a little bit farther away from Smo so his attacks miss, but he doesn't charge me. By counting the hits until you stagger, you can take out Ornstein very quickly. Super Smo is even easier, just run towards him and he'll do a jumping slam, setting you up for a punish, and 4 hits is a bleed. After repeating this a bit, Smo goes down. Picking up the Lord Vessel, I go back to fight the Demon Titanite, and there's not a huge damage boost, but hell, I'll take it. Going back behind his leg like normal and going out of the room to heal, we can get another 2 Demon Titanite. Heading back to Andre, we can get a +4. By going back into Sins, we can, painfully, kill the other 3 Titanite demons for a +5. With the +5, I head back down to the lower burg and take out Capra. With the Depths Key, I take a short trip down there and free Laurentius for him to give me a Pyroflame back in Firelink. Besides the humanity, this is our last damage upgrade of the run. Heading down to the Catacombs to kill Pinwheel for the Rite of Kindling, just in case these late game fights become roadblocks. In the Tomb of the Giants, I rush down to Patches and grab the bonfire before heading down to the path to Nito. Let's talk about Nito for a minute. Dropping to the arena will take a chunk of your health, which makes me use an Estus. Along with that, you'll be attacked by 3 normal skellies that can't be killed without a divine weapon. Relying on Nito to take them out isn't viable because the AoE will hit you as well, and trying to outrun the AoE brings the risk of aggroing the large skeletons. With all this, 5 S's isn't enough to take out the skellies and deal with Nito's AoE, so I go ahead and kindle the bonfire. Even with the additional Estus, the skeletons still bring too much of a threat, so I wanted to pick up 2 rings to help. The Sombering Dragon Crest Ring and the Fog Ring. The former can be picked up in Sins, and the latter can be obtained from trading a Skull Lantern with Snuggly. However, using both would make me break the Fat Ring, so I put Nito on the back burner for now. Heading back to Andre, we can use some of our boss souls to buy the Crystal Rotorious for access into the second part of Dark Group. Speaking to Alvina allows us to join and spawn Shiva and his bodyguard. Hypothetically, if the bodyguard had an accident and fell to his death, then we could get the Darkwood Grain Ring for a new role. With Power Within, we can almost deal 200 damage to Sif, which is a nice sight to see. This plus the occasional bleed gives me the Covenant of Rotorious. Now begins my descent into madness. First things first, we need to lower the water, and that means going through the ghost room. And if you saw my flip attack only run, you'll know that I fucking hate the ghost room. At first, I thought of just taking it slow and take out the ghost, but that led to me getting ganked and over and over and over again. A quick break down into the basin to pick up the grass crest shield and kill the Hydra and the Golden Golem before he dusk for DLC access later. Then I went to grab Havel's armor just to face tank, and of course I died over and over and over again some more. After a couple more roulette spins, I win the ghost lottery and get the key from Ingward. Drain the water and heading backwards for easy 4 Kings access, I use Power Within and jump on down. First attempt goes pretty well. I'm able to take out the first king without interference, and while taking on the third one spawns, but doesn't seem to bother me. I die, however, due to me running out of stamina, but half of my first attempt, this isn't going to be too bad. Oh no. So, let's talk about this boss and why I struggled so much. First, my self-imposed rules of not Havel tanking and not kindling my bonfires for the extra challenge are putting me in bad spots, especially the latter. The whole point of not kindling is so the Chaos Blade is a big threat and I have to be mindful of my health, but that doesn't really matter if I'm getting 1 to 2 shot anyway. Another big issue is I don't have the greatest depth perception. So with a large black arena and me constantly thinking the blade is longer than it is, it leaves me in situations where I miss an attack. And the last issue is just a matter of RNG, but I'll explain this in a bit. A couple of deaths later, and I'm reaching my breaking point, and I decide to break another rule for this fight, and use Havel's. Up close, the 4 Kings deal considerably less damage, so if I can minimize that, I could get more attacks in per heal, which means faster Kings. And this works so well that I got the Farce of Forgotten. The last king is all left and I have 3 Estus, which should be plenty. However, I get hit by the middle part of his blade, so I take a large chunk of damage. And I kept running to avoid another attack like that, so I get close and heal, but he was faster, and I get hit right before my heal finishes. But it shouldn't be too bad, right? Oh no. On today's episode of Today I Learned, Tori sucks at the 4 Kings. So, about the RNG aspect. This fight boils down to a DPS race, and aka speed. I need to deal the most damage in as little time as possible, especially in the 100 seconds Power Within is active for. So that means as little dodging as possible and staying close to the Kings. But where RNG can hurt this fight is with 4 attacks. 1, the homing projectiles, 2, the large projectile, 3, the explosion, and 4, the grab. If they use any of these, it's wasting our time or resources. You have 2 options, and that is to tank the attacks and be forced to use an Estus, if you don't die, or run away and waste Power Within time. If you're using Humanity, the grab attack takes away Humanity, making you deal less damage as well. Another part of the RNG is the other Kings. If you don't kill one in time, the other one could just end it all if you wanted to by staying far back enough where you get hit by the upper or middle part of his blade. So, within the first 100 seconds, you needed good enough RNG to deal as much damage as possible. After a couple more failures, I needed to go all in, so I farmed the rats in the depths for 13 Humanity, to kindle the bonfire to 20 Estus, and for a damage boost. With each attempt I got closer and closer, and finally, got an attempt. I got my bloodstain for the 10 Humanity and used Power Within up close so not to waste a few seconds while he floats towards me. Mindlessly attacking the first one and taking his hits allows me to kill him right before the second one. The second one attacked me a bit more, forcing me to use a couple more Estus, however I just kept to the attacks and I was able to take on the third one with Power Within still active. After the third, the fourth only had 2 rectangles of health and only needed a quick flurry of attacks before going down. When I beat this, I was feeling happiness I haven't felt in a while, because this fight had me on the verge of fucking tears. Next up was the Scalus' Virgin's Library. In the first real room of the archives, we can kill the Crystal Golem for the DLC key, after losing all your Humanity and dying a couple more times. Heading up the elevator and styling on Iodas, we can die to Seath. And no! The rest of the archives wasn't special, just grab the key, solve the stair puzzle, uncurse myself, and head into the caves for Seath. A little tip is once you trigger Seath to spawn for the first time, is to quit out because at least one of the Calams will waltz their way in before the fog is up. Thief isn't hard, just play it normally and try and keep him in the middle so you can run from the AoE. Since Ceaseless is dead from earlier, we can go straight into the Demon Ruins and take on Fire Sage. Just like Stray, 3 hits to bleed and repeat. For Centipede, I go to the right onto the bigger platform for more space, but end up cutting his arm and getting the orange charge ring before dying. This makes the fight considerably easier. With a bunch of open space, you can easily dodge the jumps and punish. In Izalith, it's just a quick run to the bonfire and then to the bed of chaos. Best way to kill her is run to the right and take out that arm, quit out, and move to the left. Jump across the gap, get squashed like a pancake, run back, and across the gap again, and break that arm. All that's left is to go across the gap and squash that bug. Since I want to do Nito last so I can save the FAP ring, I think now is the perfect time for the DLC. Since we already did all the prep, we can just head straight back down to the basin and get grabbed by some asshole. Immediately, we're thrown into the first fight, the Sanctuary Guardian, and he's super easy. Just dodge to the side and punish the charges. Wish all the other 2 fights in this DLC were like that. To get down to Rotorious a bit quicker, I perform an air roll or a meme roll by being between 25% and 29% of my max equip load. I honestly didn't know how Rotorious would be, so I just used Power Within like normal and went in. Even with Power Within, the damage is so low, with it being below 100, and I didn't want to use the humanity on me at the time, and shortly after was my first death. I am very unfamiliar with Rotorious' moveset because I rarely do the DLC because of my ill-found opinion of it. Most, if not all, the deaths came from a skill issue, and the one attack that was tripping me up the most was the spinning double slash. I just didn't know how to dodge it. I'd usually get hit by the second slash if I dodged into him, which made me nervous because then I'd try to heal, or die by the Chaos Blade. I went ahead and used the 7 humanity I had, and this plus Power Within, I passed 100 damage. This time, getting him to the point where he'd try and buff, I'd rush in and get some easy damage in. Currently, I was hoping for his thrusting charge attack and punish that whenever he used it. I got really close down to 3 little chunks left, but I played the fight too aggressive and would try and stay next to him, which would end up making him use the jumping away slash or the double spin slash, which I failed to dodge. But I wasn't upset because I got that close in and only a few attempts, so I'm sure I'll get him soon. Or so I thought. I killed the bonfire to get 15 Estes and died within the first 15 seconds, again and again. I head back to the depths to farm 6 humanity for a total of 10. I even go back and kill Havel for his ring so I can wear the full gold him set, but the extra defense and damage isn't helping, and before I know it, I'm an hour into attempts, and then 2 hours. Wow, I am not as good as I thought. My attempts were improving though, as I was consistently getting him down to roughly 60 or 50% of his health, and along the way I learned some new strategies. Play this fight super passively. I only attack after he attacks, and I dodge away to play it safe. I usually just do a quick rolling attack before rolling away myself. The attacks I like to punish the most is when he roars and does a jump and stabs his sword into the ground. You can get 2 attacks off, and the other one is his running thrust like before, and the best way I punish that is with a running thrust on my own or a simple slash. These attacks are usually done at mid to long range. For healing, these 2 attacks are phenomenal times to heal. The ground stab, you'll have more than enough time to heal, and as long as you're a bit away after the thrust, you can heal as well. The other heal window is when he buffs, and not only is this a guaranteed heal window, it's where we apply Power Within when he buffs for the first time. So this way we can have it for the later part of the fight instead of the beginning. The reason I decided not to stagger him out of the buff is most attacks will kill us instantly if we aren't above 80%, and with Power Within and Chaos Blade, that almost never happens, so if he has some extra damage, so what? On my winning attempt, he managed to clip me with the thrust attack, and I think his buff ran out right before he hit me, so I got so fucking lucky. 2 hours later, and God knows how many attempts. Just 1 boss left. To get to Calam, we need to briefly head into Ulasil to get the tower key. This deformed human tells us where the key is, and with that we have access to Goth. We need him to shoot down Calamite for us, so he becomes available to fight. To get Goth to shoot down Calamite, we have to go down there to his arena first, and either die or homeward bone away.
Bravery without heart, and I owe. Ah, chosen undead. Do you recall when I said I was blind? Well, check this shit out. No scope! Oh my god!
I'm even less familiar with Calam than I am with Artie, so I was not ready for this at all. My first attempt, I got caught on him and I couldn't dodge before the dash. Most deaths here came from badly timed rolls or putting myself into bad positions. Attacks that would get me the most was the jaw swipe where I dodged but get dragged by his neck into the hitbox. After about 30 minutes of attempts, I called it quits for the day and took a break. Upon some research, I found out the best way to deal with Calam is to stay on his right and circle. By staying on his right, but slightly a bit under, we'll have a greater chance for him to use a stomp, which is an easy to dodge attack and an easy to punish attack as well. His jaw swipe, which used to be the hardest for me to dodge, was suddenly the easiest when all I had to do was dodge farther up and to the left under his neck. Many attempts weren't successful yet, but I was getting the hang of Calam much faster than I was Artie. One attempt, I was playing it super aggressive and just attacking whenever I had stamina and I was able to pull off a bleed. So for my next 2 attempts, I started trying to get a couple more hits in while staying in the semi-safe zone to go for bleed, and this combined with practice was enough for me to take Calam down. With that, the Rotorious of the Abyss DLC is done. Now, I didn't take Manus on in this run because I'm a number 1 Manus hater, but here is Solar Pellets fighting Manus using the Chaos Blade at min stats, and this also serves as a reminder to go watch her video where she uses the Chaos Blade, but with high stats instead. While Solar Pellets fights Manus in the background, I want to just come in here and say thank you to everyone who's seen the last few videos. I can't stress this enough. I was so happy to see the Dark Souls 2 video blow up as it did. It was my best video I've made. I put a lot of effort into it, and it was still rough around the edges, but it was still really fun to put together, and I was really happy with it. So to see that pay off and me growing like 200 subscribers in like 5 days was really rewarding. So I just want to come in here and say thank you to everyone who's supporting me. With the only Lord being Nito remaining, I go ahead and get the Ring of Fog by trading the Skull Lantern with Snuggly. While here in the Asylum, I pick up the doll for Priscilla later. A quick sprint through the Tomb of the Giants, we can enter the fog and break the Fap Ring. With the Ring of Fog and Slumbering Dragon Crest, the skeletons won't aggro on us unless we are almost right next to them. So it's as simple as leading Nito over to the start of the arena and, Nito, are you okay there, buddy? No? Fine, I'll quit out. Without the skeletons, the fight is a cakewalk. Just sit anywhere you want and wail on him until he does the miasma, and then just run to the other side of the arena. All that's left before Gwyn is the optional bosses. Moonlight Butterfly is a cakewalk. Just dodge the attacks until it floats down and spam. Gwendolyn was next, but before that, look at this weird tail cut on the gargoyle. Instead of dispelling the illusion or getting the ring, I instead just run at the wall and quit out to break the illusion. Gwendolyn was just like the Moonlight Butterfly, just run and dodge his magic and wail on him when you get close. Going back up the stairs, we can head into the painting room and into the painting. We can blitz through the arena with 2 simple shortcuts. Jump off the bridge into the Flanex arena, and then out by the dragon, stand on this little corner and walk off to land on an invisible platform, then roll onto the bridge. Priscilla isn't too bad as she's weak to bleed and we have a pretty good damage against her. I die once due to her insta-bleeding me, but the second attempt goes smoothly.
But why?
With all 27 bosses down, we can venture into the kiln of the first flame and take on Gwyn. And oh my god, does he suck! I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. Gwyn sucks, and I suck at him. I can't parry him for shit, and attempting to parry him results in me getting slapped around by a sword. I tried Havel tanking, but that doesn't work either due to my low health and his high damage. Now, I could spend a few hours and practically hitless Gwyn, or I could save myself the agony and do a consumable dupe on some Elizabeth mushrooms, and then use them so I have constant healing while I parry Gwyn. I was just so tired of this run, and Gwyn was pissing me off, so like I said earlier, I choose fun over challenge 99% of the time. And hey, technically, I never really used glitches because I only used 3 in the winning attempt, which is how many you get by killing Elizabeth, so, who cares? But we can conclude you can beat Dark Souls 1 with the Chaos Blade at minimum stats. Before I do my outro, just don't forget to go check out Solar Pellets' run where she does the exact opposite of what I did. If you made it this far into the video, thank you again. I'm getting better at making videos, and I'm pretty happy with this one too. Even though it took me a little bit longer to edit than I would have liked, but I did put a lot more effort into it. overall. So I think once I start, getting better and practicing, things will speed up. So hopefully I can get them out a few days earlier. I'm kind of aiming for once a week. That's kind of my goal, but I just don't think that's possible right now. So once every week and a half is my goal, no matter the size of the video. I'm not going to try and undermine you guys, though. I'll try and keep them as like a good video. Not something like the Secure video I did, but, good challenge runs, but we'll see how that goes. I have the next one already recorded, and I will be writing the script either tonight or tomorrow, and then editing that one shouldn't take that long. It's much shorter, so it might come out in the next 5 days, 4 days if you're lucky. But yeah, thank you to everyone who made it this far. And just one last reminder, please go watch Solar Pellet's run of the Chaos Blade, seeing how the Chaos Blade works at, a high damage output instead of, under 100 damage like I did. This run was not fun, but I didn't enjoy parts of it. But the bad parts were still pretty bad, so. But thank you to everyone once again, and I will see you guys in the next one.